Oh, that's so clean. Go one. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Bro, the second input, oh my, he's getting caught every time. That's insane, bro.
I know a lot of you are tired of getting key stunned every day by players you know are carried by it. What if I told you there were options to counter those players? What if I told you that it could also counter everything else in the game? What if I told you about the Super Heroic Assault? First, let's talk about what Heroic Assault is and where it came from. Heroic Assault is a strike super that released alongside Gamma 1 in the Hero of Justice Pack 1 DLC. This super was meant to be a multi-purpose utility tool for Gamma 1 to get maximum use out of Shooting Strike. But after watching this video, you'll come to learn that this super offers way more than just setting up for another super attack. Heroic Assault has two inputs. The first input, you'll see your character rush forward. When hit by any attack, counter that attack by backflipping and firing a key blast from your pistol that is conveniently stocked away in your back pocket like this was GTA. This is amazing for multiple reasons. The first being, like mentioned earlier, this super counters everything. Basic attacks, supers, ultimates, grabs, and the important one, key blast. Having a counter that can reliably keep key stunners second guessing is an amazing tool to have. Now the opponents have to respect the return fire if the counter goes through, and if they don't, they get shot for it. This is also an amazing counter for those that like to back hit. If your perfect block game isn't as good, then just get better. I'm kidding. Not really. Using this counter will help you mitigate getting punched in your face. For a little bit. Let's also keep in mind that whenever they do get hit, you have an opportunity to turn the tide into your favor. Remember, Heroic Assault initially was meant to be a utility tool for Gamma 1 to get the maximum use out of Shooting Strike. Meaning that if you have the right super, you can combo with Heroic Assault. Good examples of that are supers like Burst Kamehameha, Brave Sword Slash, Sonic Bomb, and Savage Strike. Of course, you can just pick it up with a dash attack, but in this meta, you want to maximize your damage output by abusing unvanishables. Like I said in the last video, which you should totally go watch if you haven't, stamina recovery is way too good in Xenoverse. The second reason this first input is amazing is because of the recovery. Most counters in the game have terrible recovery. Majority of the time, you can't just throw out a counter super. If you don't time it right, you're going to get punished. However, with Heroic Assault, you have amazing recovery. Whipping this move in neutral won't cause you that much harm. Hell, you can even do it consecutively and still be fine. The iframes this counter has is pretty impressive in its own right, especially considering that counters are known for being terrible. The second input, you'll see your character rush forward and repeat that rush again. This time, running into the opponent with a fierce shoulder like Ray Lewis. On hit, the opponent will be stunned similarly to KBC. This is fantastic for a lot of reasons, the stun being the first of it. Having a KBC stun gives you so many opportunities for so much mix. You can continue with some basic attacks, get a little grab action, or even follow up with other supers. Either way, a lot of the time, opponents are gonna vanish or evasive whatever you try, so be sure to bait them into doing what you want them to do. This setup is pretty nasty. Speaking of setups, the fact that this only costs a bar to do is pretty insane. Most supers that have a damaging second input require you to use another bar of key, which most of the time isn't even worth the extra bar. But Heroic Assault, that second input does damage on top of it being a 1 bar second input. A lot of players don't even know what Heroic Assault does. So if you are mainly using it for the counter, they'll be conditioned that you don't have any other options. And then bam! Use the second input, catching them off guard. Now that we've gone over both inputs, let's talk about the uses for this super. Initially, this super was meant to be used as a counter that's set up for quick acting follow-up supers. But what I've discovered is that this super can be used as an initiator tool as well. The first input can be used as a bait tactic rather than trying to go for the counter itself. You can abuse the recovery frames on Heroic Assault, or you could go all in with the second input. While this isn't the best option for reasons we'll get into later, it's still an option that you can toss out every once in a while. Like we mentioned earlier, conditioning players to get used to the counter, and then bam! They get smacked with big boy damage and you get a free combo extender. This can also be used as a bait tactic as well, but that's some expert level fighting game knowledge that you guys are not ready for yet. Now that we've got all of the positive things out of the way, let's talk about the negatives and what you can do to stop this move. For the counter portion of this move, there are a couple options to stop it. One way is to respect the counter once you are caught in it and try to perfect block, assuming you aren't already pressing a button. Let's say hypothetically you tried for a key stun and got countered. The best option after that is to try and go for a perfect block, in my opinion. Perfect blocking the key blast guarantees you can retaliate. If you don't get the perfect block, that's fine too. It's better to let it hit your guard than to try something. You don't want to risk trading in Xeno netcode. Another option is step vanishing. I don't want you guys to rely on this because it is very inconsistent, but amongst all the players I face with this move, a lot of the more experienced players use fast characters and just step vanish. Could be because of the netcode, so hitboxes are wonky, or it could be because of the frames that some characters get when they are faster. Whether that speed be coming from a super soul, transformation, or anything of the like. Characters who are faster can ignore the retaliation of Heroic Assault, so if you believe your character is fast enough, this may be the best option for you. Next, let's talk about the second input, which also covers the first input as well, and you'll understand why in a bit. You see, the second input is where things get tricky. Both inputs have similar animations, so it's hard to tell which input someone has done, especially if they are launching them from half court. Side note, don't do that. It's not good at all. I'm serious. As much as I wish it had armor on it, the super unfortunately doesn't, so the safest way to stop this attack is to key blast them. I know, how ridiculous that I'm making a video about countering key stunning and the best way to beat one version of it is a key stun. Yeah, you're not original. But frankly, that's just how OP key blasts are. Let me break it down for those that don't understand. Like we talked about earlier, the first input gives you massive recovery frames if you whiff the move. You know how we talked about that whole bait and punish ordeal? Yeah, are you starting to see it now? With both animations being similar, you won't really know unless that person is tossing around that move like candy on Halloween. So it could be a bait with the first input, or you could get hit with the second input. Either way, you're caught in what most fighting games will call a 50-50. You're pretty much guessing what action your opponent is going to be taking. But let's assume they commit to the second input. What are your options? Well, similar to the first input, perfect block it. I'm going to sound like a mockingbird at this point, but perfect blocking supers is a lot stronger than people realize. A lot of supers are just reduced to a joke if you perfect block them, which, in my opinion, should happen more to basic attacks, but that's a conversation for another time. You don't even need to perfect block it if we're being completely honest. A simple guard can negate this super second input altogether. It's really unsafe for whoever uses it. The next option you have is to step vanish or backdash. Because the second input has limited range, it can only go so far. So if you're not confident and your perfect block don't do it, then hit a low shoulder lean and get back, create some space, and punish them for trying you like an idiot. Now for the first input, the deception, the mind games. Things here get tricky because this is like trying to punish backflip or super after image. This won't apply to all the experienced players out there who know how to deal with recovery moves. But for you average everyday player who doesn't spend 90 fucking hours every day on the game, the best answer I have for you is to just respect it and keep your wits about you. Be ready to backdash or guard at any given time. That 50-50 is dangerous in the right hands, I swear. Overall, Heroic Assault has crazy potential on the right character to be a thorn in anyone's side. I think this move requires high level of experience to really take it to the next level. Against your friend though, a nightmare to deal with. Consider throwing this onto your build and find out if it fits for you. I know counters aren't for everyone, but I think you should give this one a chance. It's not Shock Flash, but in my opinion, it's the next best thing. That's it for this video. Something like, or your fridge is gonna go missing.